Hello everyone, my name's Ayla Bell, and can we all agree that the power system in Miraculous Ladybug is a bit, how do I say this, structurally unsound? From a story writing standpoint, I mean. On paper, the Miraculous and Kwamis are a clever idea, with each Kwami representing a different concept in the universe, being bound to accessories, and allowing whoever wears such accessories access to a fraction of their power. It was even a cute idea to have Miraculous based on the Chinese zodiac. But, unfortunately, the execution wasn't great. Talking about this is gonna be tough. My thoughts are kind of all over the place, so hopefully I can make this somewhat organized. And if I miss anything, or if you want to add to the conversation, then comment below. So, without further ado, let's first talk about how well the concepts match the superpowers. Admittedly, for the most part, the concepts do make sense with the powers they provide. Mostly. Destruction and Cataclysm make sense, given that Cataclysm destroys things. Protection and Shelter makes sense, given that the barrier protects people. Teleportation and Voyage makes sense, since Voyage allows you to go from one point to another. They mostly make sense, but some don't. Exaltation and Clout is a bit of a stretch, but I'll allow it, since I guess punching really hard can make people respect you and hold you in high regard, I guess. But then you have Perfection, which doesn't fit too well with the elemental dragons. It could have fit well if it were executed correctly. At present, the actual concept is imperfection. If the shtick is for the dragon to be able to use all of the elements, then give it all of the elements. No matter which elemental system you're going with, water, fire, earth, and air for the classic system, or the elements of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water for the Chinese zodiac, which, I might say, would have been clever considering the Chinese zodiac theme we're attempting to use in this show. But no, Perfection only gets water, wind, and lightning. Huh. I know giving the dragon that much power would have made it too OP, so in that case, give it a different manifestation of perfection. Perhaps, maybe Perfection's superpower could be restoration, like, say, I don't know, Miraculous Ladybug? Hear me out. The Ladybug Miraculous has two powers, which is bogus, but let's ignore that for a second. The concept for the Ladybug is creation. Her lucky charm lets her create things. Cool. But why does her other power allow her to restore that which was broken? That's not creating, that's fixing, or restoring. That doesn't make sense to the concept of creation.
But Aloe, the Ladybug Miraculous is creating or recreating what was destroyed.
I personally wouldn't use that argument. Seems kind of wishy-washy to me. I mean, in that case, when she used Miraculous Ladybug to restore things and bring people back to life, she's recreating the people and not actually bringing them back. In that case, which Cat Noir are we on now? Version number 3 or 4? But if the dragon's concept is perfection, maybe the dragon could have the power to make things perfect again by either restoring them to their original state or making them the best version of what they used to be. Yes, in this case, the Dragon Miraculous would need to be used more often, but I don't see why that has to be a problem. If we want an ensemble of 1,000,000 Miraculouses and characters, we gotta let them shine more often. More on that later. Anyway, Adoration and Fetch is also kind of a stretch. Like, more of a stretch than the Tiger Miraculous. I sort of get it because dogs adore you when they play fetch with you, but if you just take the words and concepts for what they are on their own, they don't make sense in this case. I feel like the superpower for Adoration should be making people infatuated with you or something. Or maybe even the power to make people obsessed with objects or even other people. Just not fetch. Both the Peacock and Butterfly Miraculous deal with emotion, and yet, only the Peacock Miraculous's concept is emotion. That's weird. In this section, I take the biggest issue with the Goat Miraculous. How the heck does the concept of passion allow you the superpower to create things? Okay, actually saying that out loud, and as an artist myself, I sort of understand. But this actually transitions nicely to the next section of this rant. Analysis thing. Too many powers in this show are too similar to other powers. The Goat Miraculous and the Ladybug Miraculous are way too similar. They both create. I know Ladybug, the hero, has the ability to create anything, per what Rena Rouge said, but she doesn't because we can't have nice things. But theoretically, anything can be created, so what's the point of the goat? Given that it can only create ordinary objects, the goat is a diet version of the Ladybug Miraculous, and that just seems lazy to me. The Peacock and the Butterfly Miraculous are too similar. Like I said earlier, they both are based on someone's emotion and they both result in a monster or villain getting made. Their presentation is similar too. Take an item, put it in your hand, make it all evil looking, send it out to the miserable person to infect a relevant item of theirs, and then put a glowing evil mask thing on their face. Of course, they both have their nuances, but they aren't as different as I'd like them to be. And certainly not different enough in the sense that all of the superpowers and concepts are supposed to be unique and totally different from one another. And may I say how huge of a coincidence it is that the two miraculous that happen to take advantage of other people's emotions were both conveniently found by the villain. They just had to be paired together, didn't they? Also, why do we have two time-based miraculouses? Sure, they do slightly different things, with one being vastly more powerful than the other, but it just also seems lazy to me to have two separate entities with time-based powers that involve the ability to go back in time and fix something that went wrong. Yeah, the Bunny Miraculous can do so much more than that, but you get what I mean, right? The two Time Miraculous are just different enough for them not to be copies of one another, but you see what I mean? Right? No miraculous is an exact copy of another miraculous, but I don't know. With the concept of the powers they're going for in the show, I'd expect everyone's powers to be super distinct from one another, just like in other superhero or magical girl shows. Like, I don't want one miraculous to be able to accomplish a task in the same way or almost the same way as another miraculous. It just feels less unique. Oh, and the Bunny Miraculous sort of cancels out the Horse Miraculous since Burrow seems to allow the user to pop in and out of whatever location they want. I could be wrong about that, but it just seems that way. Now, before I rant about the Bunny Miraculous for the 4th time, if you're enjoying this video, use your special power to press that like button so that YouTube shares this video with more people. Also, comment below with the emoji of your Chinese zodiac animal. Mine is the rooster. Anyway, back to the topic. Speaking of the Bunny Miraculous, and I won't go into too much depth with it since I already done so 3 times, go check out those videos by the way, but it's stupid overpowered and way too easy to access. Literally at any point, well, before the season 4 finale, Mari could have used the Bunny Miraculous to go back in time and find out Hawkmoth's identity.
But Aloe, Bunnix wouldn't allow that.
You say that, but I didn't exactly see Bunnix in the burrow when Mari used it in the season 4 finale. So, technically, Mari could have done that.
But Aloe, vague consequences.
Yeah, vague consequences are vague. Look, I've seen a lot of shows and movies with time travel, and I understand what the consequences could be. Butterfly effect and all that jazz. But we haven't seen such consequences in Miraculous Ladybug.
But Aloe, what about Cat Blanc?
What about Cat Blanc? I don't care what Bunnix said. The first timeline we got in which the moon was partially destroyed and everyone in Paris except for Cat Blanc died was the original timeline that was meant to happen, and you can either agree with me or you can deal with it. I personally think time travel is not needed in this show, especially when it's already been revealed to us a while ago that Ladybug and Cat Noir exist as adults, and that the current Hawkmoth loses. When we have that kind of info, it kind of takes the tension away from current events since we know everything will be fine. As long as no one messes with the timeline anyway. Sure, the heroes still have to deal with a different holder of the Butterfly Miraculous, but at least we know they survive until adulthood to be able to do that. Sure, you can make the argument that characters other than Mari and Adrien might die, we don't know their fates, but come on. And unless Miraculous has a time skip and allows us to see the cast as adults for at least a full season, when Miraculous ends, it'll be on a cliffhanger since we won't get to see how the future situation ends, or if it ever ends. That aside, yeah, the Bunny Miraculous is too strong and allows the heroes an instant get out of trouble free card by either using said Miraculous or by having Bunnix pop up whenever it's convenient to make things right again. I dislike the inclusion of this Miraculous in the story so much. The Ladybug Miraculous is also OP. A fully trained holder has the ability to create literally anything. If Mari ever wakes up one day and allows that thought to fully marinate in her mind, she could be virtually unstoppable. But even if we totally ignore that, Miraculous Ladybug allows her to fix anything an Akuma messes up and even allows her to bring back people who have died as a result of the attack. Consequences. Who needs them? And as for the Rooster, for those who don't know, the Rooster's ability allows a person to have whatever special ability they want. Look, you all know it's OP, I know it's OP, and I'm pretty sure Astruc knows it's OP too, cause according to the wiki, he said that while the Rooster Miraculous can give you any special ability or power you want, said power cannot take the form of a wish, like the ability to discover the identities of superheroes or recreate the world. I call shenanigans on that. But fine, even if I were to believe such a handicap existed for this Miraculous, all a person would need to do is be clever in their wording or idea of what kind of ability they want. Maybe they can't want or wish to find out people's secret identity, but they can easily give themselves the ability to read people's minds, the ability to see people as their true selves, the ability to make people tell the truth, etc. And for the recreating a world thing, I'm sure you can get clever enough to make that happen as well. So no, Astruc, adding that stipulation does not make this power less OP. You once again wrote yourself into a corner. The fact that Gabriel now has 2 out of 3 of these Miraculous and is still somehow going to lose baffles, exhausts, and disappoints me. Let it be for the record that Gabriel won't lose because he's incompetent. I mean, he is, but he'll lose because the writers want him to lose. Regardless of logic, what the writers want goes. And since I brought it up, how does the whole secret identity thing work in this show? I know there are magical shenanigans at play that make it so that no one recognizes anyone with a Miraculous, not even their voices, but to what degree is all that true? During some episode, I don't know what episode it is, weren't Adrien and Mari afraid of putting on costume masks of Cat Noir and Ladybug in fear that people would recognize them? If they can't be recognized when they are heroes, then it doesn't matter if they put on the fake masks, since to others they don't look like the heroes. Please let me know in the comments if this was a time before the two of them knew about the Miraculous hiding their true selves, cause I'm super curious. As far as voices go, I feel like their voices don't change. They should change, but they don't change. Didn't Mari record a message for Cat Noir while in her civilian form during the New York special? If she's not transformed and he recognizes her voice as Ladybug, then the Miraculous don't change people's voices. And you're gonna tell me Marinette, the Marinette Dupain-Cheng, who obsesses over Adrien Agreste, was not able to recognize his voice after they both de-transformed and started talking to one another? Really? I also know that Kwamis can't be captured on camera, but I remember some comment in some episode review that this has been contradicted at some point in the show. If it has, let me know in the comments as well. And since I indirectly brought up Uncanny Valley, why don't we discuss the New York special? So, problems aside with the Miraculous, at least they are explained to some degree in how they work and where they come from. But we come to find out that over in America, or just New York, I'm not sure, but over there, they have heroes with superpowers without the use of Miraculouses? Please explain. So you're telling me that people in this world just randomly have powers? How? Science experiments? Magic? Genetics? How does anyone have powers? I wouldn't have a problem with this if it weren't for one fact. Paris, France, Europe in general, for some reason has no superheroes outside of those with Miraculouses. Are we to assume that only Americans can have natural superpowers, or that Americans are the only ones to have heroes in general with or without powers? The Renlings over in Shanghai were at least explained to some degree, but we're expected to just accept random powers that show up that have nothing to do with the Miraculous? How does this world work? I could be wrong. but having Majestia and the other American heroes be real in this universe seems like a massive afterthought. I could buy Majestia and her friends just being comic book heroes, but by making them exist, it adds too many questions. And to be honest, there's too much going on in this show, period. You have 19 Miraculous altogether from Master Fu/Marinette's Miracle Box. On a regular basis, only 3 or 4 of them are ever really at play. The ladybug, the cat, the butterfly, and maybe the peacock. More recently, the fox too, so more like 3, 4, or 5 are at play. But anyway, there are roughly 104 episodes of Miraculous Ladybug with a few specials here and there, and yet I'd say 90 to 95% of the show only focuses on those specific Miraculous.
But Aloe, if they used all 19 of the Miraculous all the time, it wouldn't make as big of an impact. The hype moments would be gone. Besides, having 19 Miraculous users in a situation at once is too overwhelming.
First of all, no, the hype moments wouldn't be gone. You can create tension and cool moments with almost anything if you're a good enough storyteller. And secondly, sure, if all Miraculous were active all the time, the moments they show up wouldn't be as special. But as a counterpoint, technically, each time a non-main character Miraculous user shows up in the current story, their appearance becomes less and less special anyway. For example, it was cool seeing Luca become Viperion for the first time, but every time he became Viperion after that, it wasn't as hype as the first time. So, by that logic, no, it wouldn't be any more or less special. And sure, technically, having that many Miraculous users in any situation can seem like too much, but if written well, and if the situation can justify the need for everyone at once, then I think it could work. Look at Avengers Endgame. There were way more than 19 heroes at play, and that was awesome. It was done very well. Besides, just because you have all 19 Miraculous active doesn't mean all of them need to be in every situation. I will once again refer to the anime/manga that likely inspired Miraculous Ladybug, Shigokara. Please see past videos in which I discuss their relation. In Shigokara, there are 10 characters who possess guardian characters, and some of these characters have multiple guardian characters. There are roughly 15 guardian characters that are focused on in the story, which is 4 less than how many Kwamis there are in Miraculous Ladybug. 15 is still a big number, but Shigokara manages to do what Miraculous doesn't. It finds a way to make each guardian character either relevant or interesting. And, better yet, they get to stay active all the time, so we can see how they interact with their person and other people and other guardian characters. The audience really comes to know these creatures and enjoy having them around. Not every guardian character is in every episode, just as their person isn't in every episode. Similarly, not every person in Guardian gets involved with every fight against a villain. Whoever is around at the time to help Amu, the main character, comes along to help, or whoever is specifically called comes to help. Very rarely are all heroes fighting at once, and that's fine. The hype moments come from when they do all fight together, because that tells us, the audience, that this is a serious situation in which we need everyone. Similarly, just because we have 19 Miraculous active doesn't mean they need to be in every Akuma or Sentimonster fight.
But Aloe, isn't that what the show is doing right now? Having 19 Miraculous and only bringing in the ones that are relevant to the episode?
Yes, but the difference between Shigokara and Miraculous is that we see the 15 guardian characters very often, both outside and inside of battle, developing their quirks, likes, dislikes, etc. And thus we get to know them, whereas we see the unused Kwami/Miraculous very infrequently, and their development is basically non-existent. Again, they're only around like 5 to 10% of the time. In any case, because of lame reasons, we can't have all 19 Miraculous active, so we can't terribly come to care about all 15 or 16 that barely show up. The Kwamis are cute, but you probably don't care about any of them as much as you care about Tiki, Plag, Nuru, or Dusu. If you do happen to care about other Kwamis more than them, it's either because you like that animal better, they have a good first impression on you, you like their power, or you read fanfiction that highlights them better than the show. But I assure you, you do not like them because of their canon development. So, if you take into consideration the show and only the show, Not only do you not really care about the other miraculous/Kwamis, you likely don't care as much about the fodder heroes that show up the 5 to 10% of the time. And if you do, again, it's probably for similar reasons as to why you like a Kwami other than the main 4. But for heroes like, I don't know, let me choose a random one, Pagella, who only gets like 5 minutes to shine in her own episode and then gets relegated to background hero who only ever takes orders from Ladybug and never makes her own decisions in battle, they just don't matter as much, and they don't add anything except as being tools for Ladybug, and only Ladybug, because she calls the shots. I don't know. I pretty much agree with Cyrus the Great and Haryana Hook on how everyone who isn't Mari, Adrian, Gabriel, Natalie, and more recently Alia, basically gets shafted by the plot, and you have to rely on fanfiction in order to get development on them and their superhero selves. Anyway, this rant got derailed at some point. The point I'm trying to make is that Miraculous Ladybug has too much going on and isn't doing a great job developing all of it, specifically as far as the miraculous and power systems are concerned. Riddle me this, Batman. If you're going to go out of your way to shape part of your show around the Chinese zodiac and barely do anything with the Kwamis that represent that zodiac, then what's even the point of the gimmick? Heck, the gimmick kind of gets broken when you add in 7 other miraculous that have absolutely nothing to do with the Chinese zodiac. And then you go out of your way to specifically focus more on these non-zodiac miraculous. I actually think that if the show were a bit more focused and only had 12 miraculous, the theme would be much more prominent, meaningful, and it would be easier to develop all of them. The fact of the matter, or the way it seems to me, is that Astruc and whoever else is writing and developing the show is trying too hard to be clever. Like I said earlier, it's a neat idea, the general Kwami system as well as the Chinese zodiac thing. But when the current magical system of the show is thought about for too long, you see very prominent cracks in it. I'm not saying it's bad to be clever, I encourage it, but some thought really does need to go into it. The way the show is now, it comes off like the creator knew what he wanted, but didn't know how to get there. He basically said, I thought of this cool thing, but when asked how the cool thing works, it feels like he said, I don't know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If I were to play devil's advocate here, maybe Astruc gave the magical system a lot of thought. Maybe he worked on this for a very long time. There's a good chance that he worked on this for a very long time, and he sincerely believes the end product is super amazing and clever. Maybe I'm just being picky. All of this is totally possible. I'm only making such a stink about everything because I want the show to succeed. I critique it because I see its potential and I'm disappointed in the end product. But what do you guys think? Do you think the power system in this show makes sense? How do you feel about it? Is every aspect of it as developed as it should be? Comment below and let's get this conversation started. As for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.